Well, it is the day after Halloween, and it's Out with the Witches. And oh my gosh, did we have a turnout last night. I was telling Stuart that we gave out 18 pounds of candy. Now, I'm not sure how many pieces that means, but 18 pounds of candy, and that only got us to, I think, 7:30. I could have easily used another 12 pounds of candy. It was unbelievable, and it was still kind of a cold night. So how many trick-or-treaters we had, I'm not really sure, but let me just say that as they came up this walkway, the steps were backed up. There were so many people. There was a line. There were so many people on the sidewalk so Hubs and I were up here, right here, giving out candy. We moved all the pumpkins and stuff out of the way, and then there were just throngs. And the kiddos that had the great big puffed up costumes, you know, the puffed up dinosaurs and stuff with the big tails, it was kind of a squeeze for them. Yes, to waddle through the pumpkins, but it was unbelievably fun. They closed down the streets. They put up 2 blockades right there, so the streets were completely shut off. And I have never seen so many kids in my life. I thought we had a lot of trick-or-treaters over at the other house.
I can't even imagine that.
It was nothing. It was nothing like here. It was just nonstop. And the other thing that absolutely delighted me was that so many of the parents dressed up too. It was really, really adorable. So it's Out with the Witches today on this Wednesday Walkabout. And it's also going to be Out with my dahlias. So we've had 2 nights of a freeze. And Stuart, if you'll follow me over here, you can see that definitely stuff got hit by the frost. So all of this boxwood basil froze out. Oh, wow. And I did take a lot of seed from it. There's probably still some other viable seed in here. So I'll be pulling that out a little bit later. Even the butterfly candy, all of those flowers got nipped. The encore azaleas, they held up pretty good. But over here is what we're going to work on today. Are you giving them a little glimpse of everything? What's that? Oh yeah, it's brown. And actually it looks kind of pretty even in its brown state. But the other thing that has browned, which is a sign that it's time for me to dig them out, and that is the dahlias have also gotten frosted out. And dahlias are things I'm not really that experienced with. So whenever I am growing something with which I have little experience, I do what I often tell you guys to do, and that's just Google it. So I've grown them in the past, but this is the first time I think I've grown them in the ground. These were grown from seed. They were a gift from my friend Carlina, and she brought these by, and I had different varieties. This one right here, Stuart, let's put up that beautiful picture you took of them.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Before the freeze, I cut them and put some in a vase. And I believe I loved them so much that I'm going to order more of the tubers for next year, in addition to digging these up. And I believe it was called Akita. It was kind of a beautiful cherry red and yellow. They were absolutely beautiful. And then over here, I had some yellow ones that were pretty, but they weren't nearly as dramatic, and then some pink ones. So Stuart, I'm going to go to the back, and I am going to get a shovel to dig those up. But we had this blocked off so nobody was walking up these steep steps. And I'm gonna put this up. So Stuart, let's take a break here. I'm gonna run and get a shovel, and I'll be right back. Okay, so just to orient you, I am on the east side of the upper terrace. And one thing I am trying to do when I dig out these tubers is I want to be careful not to cut through the tubers themselves. So I'm digging a great big mound. Okay, and see those tubers? Ooh, those are pretty. Okay, so now I'm going to remove as much of the dirt as I can. And remember, this just started out from seed. I've got another little darling over here, another tuber. Okay, so I'm going to put these aside. And I'll later check them for any kind of rot. Let me make sure there's no other tubers underneath here because some of them kind of separated. Aha, look at that. There's one. I don't think this is a tuber. Which there could be many of. Yeah, I don't think that's anything. Okay, so I'm going to put this one aside over here. Remove the dirt to that one. And by the way, it's a brisk out today, isn't it, Stuart?
Indeed.
It is brisk. Fortunately, it's very easy to dig these up because we've had good rain recently. Okay, so let's see. Here's the root ball right there. Dig in and get these tubers. Watching Linda work. That's, you know, isn't that the best thing, watching other people work? Watching other people work. Okay. Looky, oh, looky there. Okay. So I'm going to shake off that dirt. Still got some more in here.
Is that multiple in one, or is that
Yes, this is, well, it's one big one. They're all attached. And I can later separate them if I so choose. But right now, and a lot of you noted that typically these need to be staked. And yes, they do. But I had no idea, since these were grown from seed and they started out so small, there wasn't a tuber to plant. I had no idea how big they would get. I wasn't familiar with them.
true?
I wasn't even 100% sure they were dahlias. So when I got them, I just kind of plopped them here wherever I could find a spot for them. So I think I got all these tubers. Okay, now what I want to make sure to do, I'm going to leave my shovel there momentarily, is separate them so that I know which is which. So this is the red and yellow combo, what I believe is a Kita.
Which one?
Right here.
Okay.
Right here is the yellow. Here's the yellow and here's the pink. Okay, so I'm not, yes. So I'm going to kind of separate them, and I can kind of tell which is which because these still have some yellow on them. So after I do this, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to rinse the dirt off of them. And then after I do that, they're going to dry out some, and then I'm going to cut off the top growth. So Stuart, let's take another break here, and I'm going to show you my technique for washing off the tubers. Okay, so I've got the yellow bunch here. Had this been a larger specimen, I probably would have cut them off first, cut the stems off first, but I wanted to be able to tell that these were the yellow ones. So I'm going to cut them off to about an inch above the tuber. And I will just compost that foliage. And I'm going to do these one at a time because I don't want to mix up the colors, because I'm going to identify, I want to make sure that I identify for next year which is which. So Stuart, can you see here what I'm doing? I am now going to, I don't want to put too much of a jet of water on here because I don't want to break the skin. But I am going to wash them off. This will help prevent disease down the line. And by the way, I've got my favorite Cool Job gloves on so that my hands aren't cold. Stuart, am I getting you wet?
A little bit.
A little, but it's not too bad.
Quite all right.
Okay.
Well, that thing's a bright color now.
Yes, it looks like a turnip.
Yeah.
Looks like a turnip. Okay, so that is now variety number 1. Now actually I'm going to put these back in here after they have dried for storage, but right now they need to dry out, and where I'm going to put them for the moment is just up here on my garden bench. This still life is called Dahlia Tuber on Garden Bench. Okay, now I'm going to do the next one. And by the way, after you do this, I had to hook up my hose to be able to wash these off because it has been freezing. So you want to remember to unhook your hose again after it is after you're finished. Okay, now I've got a problem there. There we go. This is why you cut them off really beforehand. Okay, so now I'm going to proceed with the second one. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to compost that. That was just the pink one. And I really didn't know what varieties these were. So the one that I really want to make sure that I save, the beautiful red and yellow one, that was Akita, and I am assuming that's the name of it because I just kind of started searching for one that looked familiar to me. Now, can you imagine what a chore this is if you had tons of dahlias, and I just have a few?
Imagine if you had to do this with your tulips.
But these performed so well that I want to make sure to salvage them. Now, if you live in an area that doesn't freeze, there's the pink one that doesn't freeze. If I had more than 3 of these, I probably would be a little more careful about making sure that I keep them separate and I identify them more carefully. But since I've only got 3, I think I can still remember. I think I can still remember which is what. And the other thing is I have Stuart here. I have Stuart here to help me. Now,
video evidence too.
we have video evidence. Okay, so the problem is, now that I've found my pruners, okay, I'm going to do this with the last one. I'm just going to cut off this foliage. Now, I've read different things. Some say wait till after the first frost and the foliage have died back. Some said do it right before the first frost. But for me, I just did it when I had time. I just chose the method where I would have the most time. Okay.
Coolest hat of the year, by the way.
Okay, this was a gift from my daughter-in-law, Taylor, last year for Christmas. She bought it in Colorado. Okay, and you see the wisdom of removing as much dirt as you can beforehand. And I'm holding this up like this just so you can kind of see. Yeah, as you go back up. Okay, so notice it's not really on a real powerful jet setting. I'm just putting it kind of a light jet so I can get in there in between the crevices, but it's not going to do anything to lacerate the skin. So these are then going to dry. I've got some other little separate tubers in here that I know not what variety they are, but that's okay. No, I do not, but that's okay. That's okay. Okay, this is my prized one, and these are going to dry right here, and once they are dry, I am going to store them loosely, probably back in that crate, and I'm going to put them down in a cool, dark place in my basement, in my unheated basement, and they will dry out. You can, sometimes people will pack them in peat moss or something, but I am not going to do that. For me, simpler is better. I will just mark them with some kind of tag, and after they dry, I will put them back into their crate, and then into the basement they will go, and into my compost tumbler will the foliage go. Do you get all that, Stuart?
I did. It's just so funny trying to frame this hat. And it's
I know, sorry.
I love it. I love it.
Sorry.
It's hilarious. Every time
I had it on last night, and the kids really liked it.
it's just so
The young
fun to
kids
follow.
really liked it, and so many people came by and said how fun it was to
That's
have
cool.
the cottage on the corner. That
Oh,
they
yeah.
really like. They said they'll walk by your house, my house, all of the time so that they can see the garden.
You got to meet a lot of the people.
I got
who
to
you
meet,
hadn't met
oh
yet.
yeah, a lot of them, but I had, of course, met a lot of the kiddos, and they had to identify themselves. They'd say, Miss Linda, and then they'd have to lift
I'm
up.
not Batman. I'm so.
Yeah, I'm really not Spider-Man. And they, but the ones I love were the ones that were really created, that were homemade costumes by some of the older ones. Okay, so let's take a break here, Stuart, and we'll move on to our next project. So I'm remembering to unhook my hose, and you can see that my faucet is on the front facade of the house, right underneath my beautiful living room windows. And this is why I don't want any kind of retractable hose reel there. This is why I've just got this recessed black pot in here for my hose, because the last thing I want is a great big old hose reel right here on the front of my house. By the way, in case you missed, maybe you missed the last walkabout or one of our last videos, these are all boxwood topiary, and they will all stay in place in these pots. I will not overwinter these in the greenhouse. And if you didn't watch that video where I talked about what goes into the greenhouse and what stays, then you might want to do so you'll have an idea. Okay, Stuart, let's move to the back. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the window box. Now, we've had a pretty hard freeze, but not a terribly hard freeze. And so because of that, some of the lantana, it got nipped, but it really didn't get decimated by extreme cold. So I'm probably gonna leave it in the window box for a little bit longer, but some of the stuff, i.e. the peppers that are in here, the tomatoes, I'm gonna start pulling these out if I can. And if I can't, then I may wait until everything dies back to do that, because this is one container that I want to replant. Boy, those are really entrenched in there.
Let me show them what you're doing.
Yeah.
Over here. That started on the wrong side.
Okay, yeah, okay. So these are the remnants of the tomatoes, and I'm going to leave in this Chef's Choice rosemary, but I think I may wait a little bit longer to pull this out, partly because some of this still is cut worthy. And you know, I've been cutting this purple Joseph's coat, Alternativa Thera, to use in flower arrangements. But this Irish
Well, that
mint,
guy's hiding
I
back
know,
there,
he's
wasn't he?
hiding back here, so he will give me evergreen interest after I pull all this other stuff out. So I think...
So you didn't have no idea.
You
he
did
was
not
there.
know that was in there. Well, you probably saw him at the beginning of the season before
Yeah,
all of
I'm
this got
sure.
so voluptuous. So I think I'm going to hold off on this a little bit longer. I can maybe pull some of this stuff out, but boy, this stuff, look at that. Look at how hard I'm tugging on it.
Connected.
That is how deep, how massive this window box was, and how accommodating it was to the really, really deep root structure of this tomato and the other thing. So I'm probably going to have to do more cutting back to pull this out. And I think I'm going to wait on that till maybe I'm ready to tear out all of the lantana and everything all at once, because it just might be easier. I'm going to have to really get up here high and be pretty aggressive about it. So I think I'm going to wait. The other thing is, this really didn't get completely nipped. I could pull that out or not, but it still looks pretty good. So I might want to use that in a few more flower arrangements. And I have the pineapple guava. It probably needs to overwinter in the greenhouse, but I'm just going to wait on that and kind of see right now. So you can see, this is what I mean when the lantana got kind of bit, but it still has new buds on it. And actually, the coldest part of the week we've already been through is supposed to warm up the latter part of the week, and I think get up into the 60s. So this might still have a little bit of life in them yet. So I'm going to leave them there, partly because I'm not quite ready to replant this, and I don't want to leave a void. I'll replant this probably when the pansies get here. But see, Stuart, look at all of that new growth on there, and it did not get nipped by the freeze. So that's just kind of an assessment of the window box and what I'm thinking about doing a little bit later. I thought I'd pull out some of it, but obviously it is battling me, so I'll wait on that. Stuart, let's go to the back, what you say, and I'll show you one last little project I've got on my calendar for today. Okay, a little bit of an update on the table. I talked about maybe painting the glass. I still have not done that. Increasingly, I am thinking about making my own wooden top using acacia wood slats. That will be similar to this wood table. You guys know, I share with you my thought process as I come up to my decision points. And I think, and believe it or not, Hub said he found some slats on Wayfair. So it may be that we just make our own. We use planks, we screw them together, I will stain it, and then maybe have a wooden top for this. This is just another project that we're thinking about for this fall after we get some other things done, and as the garden really begins to go dormant. But that might, a lot of you have been rooting for a wood top instead of a glass top. So those of you might be happy with that. Again, we haven't decided 100%. It might just depend on the difficulty and the availability. But I do love this table and I love this furniture and I want to use it as long as possible. So that's that. Now my last project, you can see, okay, all of this now has died back. I know, isn't it sad? So I will, okay, looky here, yeah. Yeah, we'll just have to discard this. All of that over there, for the most part, has succumbed to the freeze. Wah, wah, yeah, has succumbed to the freeze. And then when Hubs gets home, our last project is going to be, and many of you have told me that all my terracotta pots, I need to turn them upside down, and I will. Now that it's cold, I'll turn them all upside down so they don't freeze. It will just help keep them from freezing so that when it rains and such, water doesn't accumulate in there, and I'll probably move that one evergreen on top. And then I have, it would have been, yes, more attractive to have maybe a black tarp or a gray tarp, but all I had was a blue tarp, probably from some kind of roofing disaster of the past, and this will take two of us. But no, this will be difficult for me to do on my own. So Hubs and I will put this over and we will secure it at the top and at the bottom to this potting station over here. And I have been potting up stuff this morning because on this Sunday show, you can tell it's cold back here.
Yeah, it looks freezing.
We potted up a whole bunch of amaryllis and we'll be showing that to you. But I had more than I needed to pot up this morning, so I finished that. And this is my trash can that had my potting soil in it that I got more out of. And then there's just a few more things that are going to be tidied up back here. This will be leveled up, and this will pretty much be the last of the staging that needs to go on back here. And Hubs and I still need to clean up the second half of the garage, but other than that, I think we've made pretty good progress. And just like that, before you know it, Halloween is over. It's straight on, full throttle to Turkey Day. I can't wait. And it's time for us to just start looking at recipes, table settings, all sorts of things to get ready for the big feast. So there you go. I, for one, am starting to, I think, celebrate Thanksgiving in advance because I have very, very much to be thankful for, to be grateful for. Love and prayers to everyone in Gaza who is suffering from the Hamas terrorist attack, anyone around the world who is suffering from any kind of man-made or environmental disaster. There's just a lot of heartache in the world right now. So love and thoughts and prayers to all of you. And Stuart, I don't know about you, but it's cold.
Let's do it.
I'm going in.